7:30 ABC. LSU on the road at Clemson. It is the Death Valley Invitational, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson is favored by 4 points. By the way, Clemson is the real Death Valley. I don't know if you knew that.
Is that true?
I did a video on this a couple years ago. Yeah.
What makes them the real one?
It was a nickname coined by a rival coach after he couldn't beat Clemson back in the 40s. He called it Death Valley. It's also right next to a cemetery, which I think gives it a little bit more flair. Both places are incredibly intimidating, mind you. And you could definitely make a case that LSU, bigger stadium, crazy at night for sure. You don't want to play at either location, but the real Death Valley, as it were, the first Death Valley is Clemson.
I would argue the first Death Valley was in California. That was given that name in 1849. It's okay. It's okay. I understand. The first college football Death Valley. And I think, is Howard's Rock from Death Valley, I believe, in California,
so,
from the desert?
I believe so, yeah.
Very cool. Fascinating game. This is a fascinating narrative game, right? Ohio State just won the national championship. They always have a lot to prove because it's Ohio State. Texas has a lot to prove, but this game this is Clemson, the beginning of Clemson's proof of concept of not taking portal guys, of Dabo being extremely loyal, returning everything that they return because he's been so loyal, because he hasn't hit the portal in the way that some other major programs have. And then Brian Kelly is looking to win his first opener for LSU.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's lost all three of his openers since he got to LSU, twice to Florida State, once last season to USC, but all three of those were neutral siders, Dan.
Yes.
This one's in Clemson, again, Death Valley Invitational. And if I could speak just for a second as still a mildly scorned Notre Dame fan.
Still? You made the national championship game last year.
I am here to say that this is the year Brian Kelly gets fitted for that infamous golden sombrero. 0-4 in season openers after this one.
Wow.
Loses on the road to Clemson. I'm planting my flag.
Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out. Okay. It's a tough ask for LSU to go to Clemson. They certainly have more questions with what the defense will look like after a nice improvement last year, but not, I don't think, near the LSU standard for defensive play. This game is especially fun because this could be one of the best 2 or 3 quarterback matchups of the season at their best.
100%.
Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier.
100%.
So this is also an interesting game for both of these teams because I think the expectations internally for both of these teams is to be in the playoff conversation in November as either a conference champion or an at-large team. And so winning this game on the margins, or even playing in this game, or even competing but coming up short in this game, should be a feather for both of these resumes. Right? That they scheduled a home and home. Look at this. Clemson beat LSU to open the season. How impressive of them. Look at this. LSU went to Clemson and beat Clemson, this experienced, highly thought of Clemson team on the road to open the season. Look at their resume now. So it's extremely important because of what the context of these teams appears to be. I like Clemson a little bit more in this game. Again, this whole time I've talked about home teams gaining my edge to open up the season. I like Clemson more here just because despite the way they opened the season last year against Georgia, that game was not at home.
No.
I think Clemson will do a better job this year of stretching the field. Still have some open questions about what LSU's secondary looks like this season. Whereas the experience at receiver for Clemson, even though they weren't crazy explosive downfield all the time last year, I think that ceiling with improvement should be super dangerous for Clemson. They're young at running back. The offensive line should be a continued evolution of success. I don't know what that phrase means. I'm going with Clemson to be more consistent at home. LSU to show crazy high potential for the season, but can't put it together for 4 quarters against Clemson on the road. So I have Clemson here. I don't know. Similar score, probably 27-23, something like that.
Look, I voted Clemson number 1 on my Verbaler top 12.
Yeah. Sorry, I just sat on the fence there and had a push, right? It's a 4-point spread.
No, well, but I think you're on to something.
28-23, Clemson covers.
I think you're on to something there. I've been saying for months that they're going to win this game at home.
Yep.
And about a week and a half ago, what did I say in our prediction special? 12-0, they're going to win the conference. They're going to go to the national championship game against Penn State. They lead the nation in returning production. Like, most importantly, look at what Cade Klubnik did down the stretch last season. I think took a really important step forward.
Yeah.
Especially in those bigger spots down the stretch on the national stage.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to come into the season feeling worse about Cade Klubnik based on what we saw. I think there's a reason to be high on him. There's a reason to be high on this offense because of the line, because I think they finally did solve, to your point, their issue with the receiver room. They've got three guys that I think they can count on now, and Bryant Westco, Antonio Williams, TJ Moore. My curiosity is on the ground. They are young at running back, excuse me. I think Gideon Davidson, their true freshman, is a star in the making. I am curious to see how many touches he gets, if he's able to contribute in the way that I think he can. But what they do on that side, particularly on the ground, will be interesting. I just think there is enough back otherwise on offense that there's no reason to look down your nose at the Clemson offense anymore. It has definitely evolved over the last couple seasons, and I think they're primed to take a pretty big step forward again. So I'm excited about Clemson for many of the reasons I've already detailed here.
Yeah.
The LSU side, though, is, I think, a little bit more nuanced. Like, LSU had the top transfer class in all of America. Full stop. They clearly understood that they needed to go out there and get better in a hurry. They obviously did a pretty good job on that front. There is an absolute war chest this year at the skill positions. Let me repeat, though, what I said a few weeks ago. They got to run the ball, Dan.
Yes. Agree.
They got to get better at that. They got to get better at that. And it's wild because they had a bunch of guys from last year's line get drafted. They were actually pretty good in pass protection. They could not run the ball with any consistency. I don't know if it's like they didn't play well as a unit. I don't know if there's some other like scheme thing going on, if they just weren't good run blockers. I don't know. They got to get better at that, especially this year because they've got a stable of backs that should be pretty good if you can give them a little bit of space. Caden Durham, Caleb Jackson, Harlem Berry, who I believe is the number one running back coming out of high school.
Yeah, freshman.
All of these guys are there, and they're waiting. Is it a good thing that the line lost 4 starters from a year ago? I don't know. Those are some pretty high-level guys.
But they couldn't run with them last year.
But they couldn't run. So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. We're going to find out in this game.
Yeah.
But they got to get better at that. They absolutely cannot put it all on the shoulder of Garrett Nussmeier, just hoping that he's going to throw LSU to victory. It might be fine most of the way if they go to that strategy. I don't think you can do it consistently against top 5 teams.
They do have options. By the way, here's the sidebar, because I think we rightfully pointed out Brian Kelly's struggles in season openers. 3 of the last 4 years, Clemson has started out the season scoring 3 points against Georgia, losing and scoring 7 points against Duke on the road, and 3 points against Georgia once again.
Where's my butt? Hold on.
It hasn't been an amazing decade for Clemson to open the season up and like, we're prepared to play against this high-quality team. That hasn't been the narrative of how Clemson has started out these seasons.
Not talking
so
about
let's
this.
just be very clear.
That's fair. That's fair.
Both of these coaches would love to have some moments back in season openers. That's all.
I think this is an intense game. I think this is a very physical game.
Yeah.
And I think Clemson is the more physical team right now, especially in the trenches. I think Clemson has a pass rush that is able to take advantage of a new LSU line. Not a bad line, but a line with a bunch of new faces that needs to figure it out again in a hostile environment.
Really
just
good
like we talked about with
Yeah.
Texas. I think they're able to upset the rhythm of Garrett Nussmeier. Doesn't mean he's throwing 4 picks. Could just mean a check down here on 3rd and 7, missing an open guy because he doesn't have the time. Just enough to get him off schedule. I think that's the difference here.
Okay.
This is one that starts off as a slugfest, devolves into a shootout. I've got it at 34-31 Clemson winning, but I want those points.
You're going to take those points, okay?
I am going to take those points. I like Clemson, but I like LSU too. So in terms of confidence, still confident LSU is going to keep this one close, even though I'm on the Clemson side of the fence.
Yeah, I think Clemson's just closer to being fully formed than LSU is. This game could look totally different in week 9, but here we are in week 1. So I think I'm going to trust the team that is a little bit more self-aware in this moment. And again, that's a credit to or a credit against Dabo Swinney's strategy in roster building, because we have a concept of what Clemson is, how they're built, and what they're going for, whereas there are still open-ended questions about how much LSU is replacing. Even with the high-level things that we have come to trust about LSU, Garrett Nussmeier can absolutely still throw a catastrophic ball and then turn around and throw a miraculously gorgeous ball. Whereas I just think we can count on the Clemson element of this a little bit more at home. That's all.
He's a gunslinger. What can we say? He's a gunslinger.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's great.